It's like always ending up in bad intimate relationships. You cannot see the red flags, so you keep returning to the same mistakes. That's the fine line between psychopathy and narcissism there. The term narcissism is being thrown around like nobody's business, but there's a quite difference between narcissism as a diagnosis and calling somebody narcissistic. The latter one will be discussed in this video, because I am not a psychiatrist and I cannot give out prescriptions, right? People are very concerned about the topic of narcissism because they've become prey of narcissists and want to do everything in order to skip it, avoid it. So let's see what type of narcissist you are running a risk to become a prey of.
Narcissism and vanity are often considered mirror images of each other. We think of both as being enamored with their own beauty, image, and self-centered attitudes. This, however, is a shallow representation of what narcissism really is. Narcissism is a spectrum. On one side, you have self-assurance and confidence, which make for a happy and healthy personality. On the other side, you have narcissistic personality disorder, which is self-centered, non-empathetic, and emotionally draining to be around. Narcissism and vanity are somewhere in the middle. They're not healthy, but they're not as damaging as NPD. NPD can only be diagnosed by a professional and isn't something you can develop or catch.
Similarly, in the same manner, we express ourselves as being depressed, which doesn't necessarily imply that we're chronically depressed, which is a diagnosis and has to be treated as such, with trained professionals and medication. The other side of the story, when you're depressed, as being moody, feeling some sadness, melancholy, feeling of missing out, which lies in between the chemical depression I was talking about previously, and experiencing the feeling of fulfillment. So generally, when you hear people calling somebody narcissist, they mean in the sense of vanity, but that narcissism can also be divided in two separate branches, which he will be talking about in short. Essentially, a narcissist, a person who loves himself so much that he would do anything in order to achieve his own goals and ambitions, disregarding others' needs, emotions, and how they feel towards you. It's a kind of over-the-top self-love where you don't care about the means of cultivating it.
The seed of narcissism is usually planted in childhood. Differences in upbringing make for differences in narcissism, and change which narcissistic traits people develop. What types of narcissism are there? How does narcissism present itself? We're so glad you asked. Narcissistic people can be either body-oriented, called the somatic narcissist, or personality-oriented, called the cerebral narcissist. Somatic narcissists focus on looking better than everyone else. They're the ones with the fancy clothes, perfect hair, and gym bodies.
Well, we all know those kind of people in our vicinity. Somebody you know personally, somebody you associate with, maybe a family member, maybe a friend even. If you're self-aware enough and have a friend who is a narcissist, I don't know what you're doing. These type of people are very easy to detect. But there's another type of narcissists. They are much more covert in their agenda, and you should be extra careful when you suspect someone to be a narcissist.
Cerebral narcissists focus on things like being smarter or funnier than everyone else. They'll start debates in order to win them and live off the praise fed to them from other people. On top of this body-mind division, there are also four main ways narcissism can present itself. I
find cerebral type of narcissist much more damaging. As annoying as superficially vain people can be, they are no match for cerebral narcissists. The kind of people who always try to be on the top of their game, be it intellectually or status-wise. They will push you down, push you over, and try to reach their goals of gaining all kinds of attention, disregarding others' feelings. These people can be very hurtful. And paradoxically enough, they attract very sensitive people in their own lives. Sensitive people who cannot see all the BS behind the charismatic curtain. From my personal experience, I always found narcissists to be very entertaining. All the effort that they put in order to become most admired and loved ones in a social circle. Somehow I had the ability to see that through. And I couldn't fathom, for the life of me, how could other people not see the obvious fake attitude that they were showcasing. I guess we all see what we want to see.
1. Overt narcissism. Loud, outspoken, and always right. These narcissists tend to be bullies and use their words to tear down the people around them. This is the most common presentation of narcissism. 2. Covert narcissism. Sneaky, like snakes in the grass. You might not even recognize this person as a narcissist.
Overt narcissists are very easy to avoid if you are self-aware enough to see through that. As I mentioned before, there are some emotionally damaged people who cannot see through the manipulation that those kind of narcissists are throwing out in order to catch their prey. It's like always ending up in bad intimate relationships. You cannot see the red flags, so you keep returning to the same mistakes because you never learned from the consequences of those. You are attracted to your emotional pain.
They pretend to be kind and gentle when in reality, they're manipulative and cold, feeding off the people closest to them. They use people as a means to an end, to gain money, power, fame, whatever they want.
Covert narcissists are most dangerous in my opinion because those kind of people tend to have good social abilities, social skills, and they're calibrated enough to know how to behave in order to attract power. And power is others liking you, wanting to be in your company, wanting to do business with you.
3. Seductive narcissism. We don't mean seductive like high heels and fishnets. These narcissists tend to praise and idolize people close to them in order to get the same response back. They sucker people in with admiration and compliments, then drop you with no warning. By playing hot and cold, they keep you on the hook and get their ego constantly fed.
This is the type of people who do a lot of brown nosing, if you know what I mean. But if you're a person with integrity, you will know that straight away something isn't right. Something is very fishy with that person. And this also will work better with emotionally damaged people. Getting this hot and cold response, you receive a lot of warmth from the narcissist, you become addicted to that and you crave more of it. And then the person drops you or distances himself from you, making you to become a junkie for that kind of attention. And when you're hooked, you'll do anything. Jump through hoops in order to gain the same kind of attention.
4. Vindictive narcissism. These people aim, shoot, and destroy. They're the most dangerous of all the narcissists, and might be confused with the overt narcissist because of how outspoken they are. Be warned, these people will do and say anything to destroy their victims, and often will trash talk and incite anger in other third parties to turn more people against their victim.
I would say that's the fine line between psychopathy and narcissism there. A person who is very vindictive and wants blood has crossed the line between being a manipulative jerk to becoming a psychopath who will crush everything to the ground in order to achieve his goals. In my opinion, the great narcissist is the one who can get away with things without people noticing it.
Worrying you might be a narcissist? Don't. While you might present traits of narcissism, you're likely somewhere in the middle, non-dangerous portion of the spectrum. And if you're really worried, talk to your mental health professional about a possible diagnosis.
With the rise of digitization, people have watered down the meaning of narcissism. It takes much more to be diagnosed as a narcissist than being selfish here and there. But do you know how a perfect narcissist would look like? Check this video out to get the answer. How do you deal with the narcissist yourself? Tell me in the commentary section. But for now, Hossein, out. I want to break free.